Medicaid propaganda. Now, this is important to you because it will be a focal point for the Democrats trying to regain power in 2026. Medicaid. Okay, let's walk through it. Now, most Democrats want socialized medicine. They believe, as Bernie Sanders has stated very clearly, that free medical care is a human right. All right, this is beyond any dispute. Okay, so I would say 90% of Democrats believe that. If you don't believe it, it's hard to be in that party. So the Democratic Party doesn't want any reforms or cuts to Medicaid or Medicare, which is the federal program. But let's just focus in on Medicaid. So it's a joint federal state program that covers medical costs for people with limited income. And it's a safety net that's needed. There's some people, particularly with children, young children, who just can't make it in our society. We just can't let them die. All right. So in the Great Depression, the safety net started, and the Medicaid system is evolutionary out of that. Now, in 2024, last fiscal year, the federal government put into Medicaid $584 billion of our tax money, and the states picked up the rest, which wasn't near $584 billion. So federal government's picking up the most of the cost of this program. Since 2019, the Medicare enrollment has increased by 6 million Americans, up to 79 million. Okay, there are 335 million people here. 79 million of them get Medicaid. All right, and that's a fairly significant increase since 2019. The problem is there are no restrictions on the Medicaid program. Okay, you don't have to look for work. Even if you're able-bodied and you don't have children, you don't have to look for it. You can just sit there, enroll. So if you're a drug addict, you don't have any money, and all day long you're getting high, you can get Medicaid and just take your drugs, spend all your money on drugs, and you'll get free health care. Does that sound fair to you? It's not. So Republicans want to revamp the system, providing more oversight for it. They want a work requirement, or at least you have to look for work. Now, there are some, obviously, if you're an older person, you don't have to do that. Okay? So it has raised the age, I think, to 64. Where if you're below 64, you got to look for work. If not, you don't have to. Okay, if you have children 6 or younger, you don't have to. Okay, you mind the children. But overall, it's a demand by the federal government that you have to try to get some work, to try to get off this system. And Democrats don't want it. They don't want any regulations at all. And therefore, they're taking Medicaid and they're propagandizing it. Roll the tape.
Last week, Senate Democrats zeroed in on the way Donald Trump's big, ugly bill will rip away health care from tens of millions of Americans. At least 16 million Americans in total, no health care.
Don't forget, the reason they're fighting is because Donald Trump wants to devastate Medicare and Medicaid and other middle-class programs, and Eli just wants to eliminate them.
There was a report, a study done by Yale University and the University of Pennsylvania. They said 50,000 people a year are going to die because of their lack of health care.
No, it's all BS, and you can take any study and twist it any way you want, but nobody's going to be dying in the street. Now, people believe what they want to believe, and, you know, people who don't like the Republican Party and Donald Trump, they're going to believe Bernie Sanders, and they don't care what the facts are, but you do. So let's go through it. In this big bill that President Trump wants passed, there are no direct cuts to senior citizens at all in Medicaid. None. Not in there. Okay? As I said, if you are below 64 years of age, you got to look for work to qualify. Okay? And then parents with children older than 6 would have to meet a work requirement. They have to look. But that's dicey. Okay? So there's no work requirement if you have dependent children at home. it's confusing as everything is, but then the federal government's not going to give you up Medicare or Medicaid if you have kids in the house that depended on you. All right. So states like California, Oregon, Washington State, we've studied them, and they use Medicaid payments to pay for dance classes, cooking classes. They don't, it's just as corrupt as you would imagine it to be. Federal government says you can't do that. Okay, there got to be oversight. Got to be rules. You got to obey the rules to get nearly $600 billion in payments. Does that seem, any of this seem unreasonable to you? I mean, if it does, bill at BillO'Reilly.com, bill at BillO'Reilly.com. I mean, I don't see anything here that's unreasonable at all. Nobody's going to die. Nobody's getting chucked off the rolls unless they refuse to look for work. I mean, how hard is that? Just, you don't even have to get a job, you have to look. And you have to, provide documentation that you are looking. Okay. But this is going to be continuing. You'll hear they're going to be dying. They want to cut. They want to do this. That Trump's killing people. The children are this, that, and the other thing. It's because the media doesn't care about it and will not correct the record. There's no fact check on these people when they say this. I'm the fact check. All right. And that's the memo.